Welcome to Democracy 2.0 with Wayne Bouchard, a streaming service taking you into the wonderful world of Zoomcasting. And this show, basically, we're talking about what the hell is wrong with our government, or what's right with our government. With Wayne Bouchard, a man about town, a former. He ran for Congress. What year was that?
I'm not exactly sure. Let's just say for the sake of discussion, 1976 or 1978.
Well, he ran for Congress a century last century. I love saying that.
And I was 12 years old when I ran.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, actually, as I say, if it was 1970 you ran and you were 12 years old, still make you old.
Still makes me old. Okay.
Right. I can't talk. We're about the same age.
Yeah.
Anyway, have you taken notes about what happened this week in the wonderful world of the U.S. Congress? Or
Well, Congress, the nation, the world. I don't think we can probably get to the rest of the news until we at least comment about the Tyree Nichols death and subsequent firings and the releasing of the videotape. They had not released the videotape when we spoke last week.
Correct.
And really all I think it can be summarized in a few words by just saying that the treatment of this man was just so inhumane, so barbaric, and so disgusting that it just leaves you shaking your head thinking, what the hell were these people thinking about? They really apparently didn't even have evidence to stop him for a traffic violation. And they ended up, beating him to death. And you talk about poetic justice. It was one of their own cameras, not their body cameras, but the sky cop up on that pole. I love that term, sky cop.
Sky cop, yeah.
That really captured everything, and really, those guys standing around waiting, and the paramedics just waiting and waiting and waiting and letting this man die is just. It's just beyond belief.
Well, this almost seemed like I wasn't watching police or cops, whatever you want to call them, but I was watching the gangs there in the corner that are into their own law. Which they would have someone and they just beat him to death.
I'm not even sure they're that barbaric.
Well. But I have no idea how these policemen got on the force. What is the Scorpion gang or whatever they call them?
The special crew, but
I'm wondering if they had tattoos. They didn't talk about that. Scorpions on their wrist.
Don't know.
Yeah, there was no mention because I know there have been. I don't know if it's for real or it's for real with there's certain groups of cops that have tattoos that for whatever reason make them above the law.
Well, nobody is above the law.
But and it was interesting that it was a black on black. It wasn't black on white or white on black.
It was a terrible, the behavior of those cops was just incredible, awful.
And as you say, that there was no particular reason that I heard of that they pulled them over. They were inventing some.
Yeah, but they didn't have any evidence to even pull them over.
And
Anyway, let's go on to something a little bit more a little bit easier to discuss and a little bit easier to talk about. The Republicans, in their infinite wisdom today, stripped Representative Omar of Minnesota of her committee assignment on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, which again has there's no justification for this. The Republicans have had their sights on Omar since day one, since the first day that they realized that they were going to have a majority in the House. They started talking about unseating her and punishing her. The fact that she's a black woman, a refugee from Somalia, and a Muslim might have something to do with that. I'm not saying that that's the reason, but I think maybe those white wealthy males from those southern states just might have a difficult time having someone of her background in a position of such power in the House of Representatives. Just saying. I'm not saying that's the reason, but it might be construed as the reason.
And why are they trying to get rid of Adam Schiff from the Intelligence Committee?
They just don't like him. I think there are and some of it's just punitive. They're just trying to get even. A couple of those people, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lorraine Bobbitt, or
Lorraine Bobbitt.
Lorraine, what's her name?
Bobbitt. I forget. Is it Lorraine?
Yeah, I thought so. They were kicked off their committees because for threatening people's lives, for threatening, AOC. What's that other guy's name? He threatened to have her murdered.
Orwell?
What? What was his name?
Oh no, no, not threatened to have him murdered.
Gosar was the guy who was threatening her. So the Democrats kicked them off their committees. Retaliation, that's what this is. Retaliation. Foreign Affairs Committee, here's a refugee from an African country. It probably has a whole different perspective on foreign affairs than some white dude from
Alabama
or New Jersey even. A whole different perspective on that, and they throw her off the committee. And Adam Schiff is by far probably the most knowledgeable guy on that, or one of the most knowledgeable people on that committee as well. Now, what committee is he's on? The Intelligence
Committee.
Yeah.
Well, he was a big one
he's been there for years.
Yeah, he's a major one that was behind the impeachment for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Well, has there been any legislation that the Republicans have started since they're in?
No, they're talking about the debt ceiling and how they're going to handle the debt ceiling, and they want spending cuts. But when the Democrats and the president ask them for their proposals for spending cuts, they have yet to deliver them. So they've been talking about this for the last 3 months.
Remember, they've been talking about this for the last 30 years. Except the only time they haven't talked about the debt ceilings when Trump was president. Then whatever he did is, oh yeah, that's fine. We don't have to worry about that. I remember.
They say they want spending cuts, but they don't want to tell us.
Right. I think they should cut the salaries for the House of Representatives and their hospitalization, because they don't want the rest of us to have the same benefits that they have, that their medical plans provide for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, their medical plans are second to none.
Right, and I believe that's for life, even after they leave.
Yes. Someone is calling me.
Or answer the phone call. You can answer the phone call.
No, I can't.
We'll listen in.
That probably wouldn't be appropriate.
It's probably your girlfriend. I won't tell your wife.
No, it's not. It's a guy.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna text him back. I thought I texted him.
Don't you know? Every one of your business people or friends should know this is dead time. You're on the air to an international audience. You just wasted about 300,000 impressions.
$300,000.
Now, impressions that people would be listening. They said, "What the hell is he doing? He's supposed to be talking."
Here's another call. Popular guy today.
You should have something call you later.
Yeah, there is a thing like that. I don't have it hooked connected. It's
Because I get that a lot. Busy. Call you later.
Oh yeah, sorry, I can't talk now.
Right.
So speaking of the debt ceiling and spending cuts, inflation is seemed to be being tamed by the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve raised interest rates yesterday by 1/4 point instead of 1/2.
They did 1/4 point. Okay, that was their lowest since they started raising it, I believe.
Yes. Inflation seems to be getting better, although the price of gasoline around here is going up, not down.
Right, that's what I was going to say. The same thing here in California.
I'm not sure why.
And neither are they.
Pardon?
And neither are the gas people.
ExxonMobil reported $56 billion in profits for the fiscal year 2022.
And it's the highest it's ever been.
$56 billion increase in profits, or is it total profits?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen it, but I know the bottom line is the biggest that's ever been, but yet they're not gouging.
Shell was 40 billion and ConocoPhillips was 30 billion. I think it was their total profit.
Yeah, I think there's profits.
I just saw a notice come across the screen that from the Washington Post that both Amazon and Apple reported lower than expected earnings for the last quarter.
Really? It's surprising for Amazon because of the Christmas and the presents. I know Amazon is amazing. I think we've been over that. My wife orders something. She'll order something at at 2:00 today, and I swear before she hangs up, the bell is ringing. But seriously, it comes the next morning.
It comes the next day. A lot of times, it really does. What else is going on other than that? Well, the big news, of course, is that Tom Brady's retiring from football.
Possibly.
No, he said 100% he's not going to return. This is it.
But right. it was interesting because I was listening to the sports earlier, and they say, you don't think he'll return at the end, let's say the end of the season? And one of the major teams who's leading or close to the lead, their first string quarterback is injured. Whether they're not going to call up Tom Brady to come in for the last 4 games.
Well, then I saw a headline just recently, like in the last hour, that the owner of the New England Patriots,
Yeah,
Robert Kraft, said he would like him to retire from the Patriots,
right.
rather than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So that would mean he'd have to put him on a payroll again.
Yeah, well, for Kraft, it doesn't really make a difference, or for actually for Tom Brady doesn't make a difference.
I don't think he.
I think he's going to be the third sports billionaire. I think Michael Jordan was number 1, and maybe a Tiger Woods and Tom Brady.
What about Peyton Manning?
Excuse me?
What about Peyton Manning? How's he doing?
I don't think he's doing too poorly, but I don't think he's a billionaire yet.
Yeah, I have always. I'm surprised that that the old man and Peyton and Eli and their brother that didn't play football, and I can't remember his name, Cooper, I think it might be.
Yeah, I think it's Cooper.
Haven't bought a football.
Well, number one, they might be trying to, but all these people who buying franchises, are not millionaires. They're billionaires, 10 times over.
Yes.
I mean,
it takes a lot of money.
Yeah, but these guys are if there's a Yiddish word, ungestüpft. I don't know if you ever heard that. That means
that's a new one. I never heard that one.
Ungestüpft. They have plenty of everything.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So
what else is happening? How much?
George Santos left those 2 committees. That was earlier in the week.
I thought you said the governor of Florida. What's his name? His name is De Santos.
Right. Yeah, he's going to retire, but actually, Trump is now attacking all of these people. Like he said, DeSantis wouldn't have become governor if it wasn't for him.
Right.
And I think Nikki Haley is also announcing. I don't know if she did it today or tomorrow. She's announcing her candidacy.
Candidacy, yes.
Candidacy.
Yep.
And there was someone else that was going to declare, and I forget who.
Oh, really? I didn't. I heard about Nikki Haley. I have not heard of anyone else.
I mean, in the future. I mean, they're thinking about it, but they haven't declared.
Okay.
And I don't know what Pence is going to do. He'll probably declare himself.
Yep. And if you remember the last week, I think it was, I said that I couldn't understand why the Department of Justice wasn't just going around to all the ex-presidents and vice presidents and searching their facilities for classified documents. And wouldn't you know it, the very next morning, there was an announcement that said that that's exactly what was going to happen, which would make sense.
Yeah.
So they've been looking at some more of Biden's properties. He had a beach house. They've looked at some of Pence's properties, and I haven't heard anything about Obama or the Clintons.
No. Well, I think they got everything from the Clinton when they investigated Hillary.
Oh, I think the Republicans in the House would love to investigate her some more.
Yeah.
And if you, I don't know if you followed this, but Hunter Biden is now all of a sudden on the offensive about his laptop. Have you seen that?
No.
Well, the Republicans have claimed that, they've had access to Hunter Biden's laptop, that he dropped it off at someplace on Long Island or Westchester County.
That was before the election, the presidential election.
And
quieted.
And he never admitted that that was indeed his laptop. So he's never said, that's my laptop, and the information on there is personal and private, and you guys have no right to it. But yesterday he started talking about that people have gone into that computer, his laptop, and made public that information, and that's a violation of the law. It's a violation of his privacy, and it's a violation of the law. And he said that something to the effect that if he hadn't picked up his computer in 90 days, then it belongs to, the group where he left it. However, the place where he dropped it off, they were on Fox News on day one, telling him what was on the computer. Not 90 days, but day one.
Are they? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. He went on the air and started talking about what was on his computer that he found that Hunter Biden dropped off at his facility.
But Hunter validated that was his computer.
Yes, he did yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So what else do we have to talk about? We talked about inflation.
Now I'm getting a phone call.
Okay, they stopped bothering me.
Okay, I'm going to talk on the phone.
Huh?
Hi, Anna. I'm on the air now, so you're being heard by me and by Wayne and
millions
and billions of people. Yeah. Okay, bye. That was my wife.
Oh, okay.
And show or no show, you have to answer a call from your wife. Otherwise,
yes, absolutely.
no matter what you're doing, you lose. You're wrong.
So that we're sending tanks over to the Ukraine.
Yeah, but no planes.
But no planes. 6 months from now, I can guarantee you, we'll be sending planes over there.
Planes. But I don't know what's happening, and actually, all over the world's a mess. They have the new fighting in Israel and the Palestinians.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know how that's going to work out.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the conflicts they had with the Representative Omar from, and I'm not sure how you pronounce her first name, Ilan.
Yeah, Omar? I think Ilana. I call her Omar.
That she had made some derogatory remarks about Israel.
Right, that was in 2019.
Anti-Semitic.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering whether all the complaints against Israel is anti-Semitic, because I have complaints against Israel, and I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm Jewish, unless I'm a self-loathing Jew, which I'm not.
No, I read a headline this morning that Prime Minister Netanyahu said that he was talking to the Secretary of State about a two-state solution, and he's in favor of a two-state solution, but he's not willing to give the Palestinians any autonomy. What the hell kind of a two-state solution is that? If they're a separate entity, he has no control over what they do or don't do.
Maybe they become like Puerto Rico. They're a separate entity, but they're part of the United States.
That's a territory. That's not a two-state solution.
Okay. That's true.
If we had a two-state solution with Puerto Rico, they would be a state.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, a lot of Puerto Ricans don't want them to become a state because they lose a lot of federal benefits.
Yeah, but the Democrats would be a lot better off if Puerto Rico was a state along with the District of Columbia. Then we would get the Democrats would get 4 additional U.S. senators.
Yeah. Well, I number one, I think what we have to address.
That's where
I think
Go
we
ahead.
have to just the electoral system and make it a direct popular vote.
Well, that's where what even with that, but the discrepancy in representation comes in because you have a state like, let's just say California, Texas, New York, Florida. They each have two senators, and so does Idaho, Wyoming,
South
and Montana.
Dakota.
Now, that just doesn't make sense. To me, it doesn't make
That's
sense.
true. Maybe they should combine some of those. There should be a population requirement to be recognized as a state.
Well, that part of the Constitution is taken up with the House of Representatives, and
Right.
that's why that is laid out the way it has been. And the Senate was supposed to be this very exclusive debating society, if you will.
And that's what it is. It's a debating society. They haven't done anything.
But at the time that they wrote the Constitution, there were only 13 states, and there weren't the discrepancy in population didn't exist to the magnitude that it does now.
So in other words, the way we elect our officials is totally antiquated based on the population of 1776.
Correct. Absolutely.
And
Correct.
we haven't changed a bit.
We've never changed that part of the Constitution, which is the reason why the Democrats think that if they could make Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia a state, it would make the playing field a little more, let's say, level
Right.
than it is now. It's definitely slanted towards those lower population states. If you start adding up, Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, North, South Dakota, there are a hell of a lot of senators that those states have in comparison to the heavily populated states.
Definitely.
Yeah. So with that, we should start a revolution, call ourselves the Constitutional Congress reinvented, and
Well, they're the reformationists.
and pass some new laws, man. Let's get this thing rolling.
Well, let's get something rolling. The thing I want to know, talking about new laws, how come there hasn't been any new laws on immigration?
Because no one wants to tackle the subject. The closest they ever came to in the last 50 years was during George W. Bush's administration, and they could have done it, except the conservatives didn't agree with George W.'s solution and the more moderate wing of the Republican Party. And that's why we're in the mess we're in.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody's blaming everybody else.
Of course, that's the way of the world. Let's find out who was at fault and run them up the flagpole.
Yep, it's a but also all over the world there's conflict. The big thing in Iran with the women and their burqas.
Mm-hmm.
You have in Peru, they're rebelling against the government, and there were people from the where's the tourist area in Peru? I'm forgetting. Anyway, they've come down the mountains to protest that that the government hasn't paid any attention to them.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with Russia, don't know what's going to happen with the world.
Well, if you knew that, Malcolm, you could probably make a hefty bet on, the financial markets and do okay for yourself.
I'd rather make a bet on the Super Bowl.
How about this firm over in India? This one guy, they've lost $100 billion in the last week. That's a lot of money.
I would say so. A little bit more than I have.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm relieved to find out that Elon Musk is starting to do well.
yeah. Well, let me see here. I can write you out a check.
Okay.
All right. It would be useless, but I'll write it out.
Well, I'll frame it and put it on my wall.
Yeah. And I also the last item, last thing on my list for today, and we've gone through the whole bloody list. No, we haven't.
Well, we have a minute left, so go.
Well, I'm going to deal with the lighter of the two subjects that are left on my list. We no longer have people talking about the pandemic puppies that they had. Now we have an influx of inflation chickens. Everybody's buying chickens because the price of eggs has gone from $3 a dozen to $10 a dozen.
Well, that's because we killed 60,000 chickens because of the avian flu.
Yes, yes. And I have chickens and they're not laying any eggs. Would you believe?
Are they on strike?
I think they have outlived their productive egg laying days, and they're ready for the stock pot.
Or are they ready for the oven?
Yeah, right.
When they
Well,
make good chicken soup?
well, that's what you would get from the stock pot would be chicken soup or gravy or something to that effect.
Well, I tell you, I don't know how you handle it. You have chickens, but I remember going with my mother-in-law the first time to buy a chicken. And I've always been used to going to the supermarket and the chickens are all chopped up and put in bags and frozen. But we went to the Latino butcher, right? They take the chicken out of the cage alive.
Yeah.
And I saw the chicken while it was alive. And that night I couldn't eat it
Well,
because I knew when it was alive.
That's a fresh chicken.
That was very fresh, too fresh for me. Anyway, young man,
On that
note, time is up.
all right.
Get me a list for next week, and I'm sure
Okay.
there'll be a lot of the same damn things. As I say, the more things change, the more things stay the same. Go again, as I say, go watch West Wing, and it's the same things that they did a decade ago.
I finished West Wing.
Yeah, do it again.
Do it again.
You see the same problems. Anyway, you've been listening to Democracy 2.0 on MalcolmPresents.com. You can see all our shows. They're on demand and they're all archived, so you could see predictions that we made a year ago. I don't know if I should let them see that. Anyway, see you next week.
You can go back in time and see episodes where I had dark hair.
I don't think we've been doing that long. Bye.